It's starting. Okay.
We are live.
Yes, we are live. All right. Anyways, welcome everybody, whoever's there. I think probably it's going to be very difficult because most people are commuting to work right now. We're sitting here already because we had our miracle morning already and did our workout. And I didn't work out. I didn't work out yet though, but I will.
Honest.
No, I am. I set my 100-day goals, and so I have to work out at least 75 in the next 100 days, which is easy. That's not tough. Without further ado, we're here with Daniel Ramsey, president and founder of MyOutDesk.com, a virtual staffing company. And I know some of you out there probably have a virtual assistant, but probably 90% of you guy, because I met him 2 years ago at a mastermind group, and I remember we were hiking, and I was the last one up the hill. Everybody else is in, and we had a great mastermind session, and I knew when I met you that you're the type of guy that I want to hang out with because you're a visionary. So I'm happy to have you here. And anyways, Daniel, can you tell us about yourself? Kind of give us your background in real estate and how you came across and how MyOutDesk started.
Sure. So I got licensed in 2004. I was one of those crazy guys who, I was interviewing for all these different real estate companies, and they all wanted 50%. And I was like, God, 50%. And so I just got a broker's license and started my own company in 2004. I moved into an office and had no idea what I was doing, but the guy who hooked up my phones said, hey, I need a mortgage. Can you do that? And I was like, yeah, I'm licensed, man. I can do that. And then he left, and I'm like, I'll call you tomorrow. And once I get everything set up, pick up the phone, I call a buddy, and I'm like, hey, how do I do a mortgage? Like, how do you do a mortgage? So that launched my real estate career. I've been ranked number 26 in Sacramento out of 9,000 realtors. And the year that I was actually ranked 26, I lived for 6 months in South America. So my wife and I were just decided to move down there and do some Spanish, and I ran a team of real estate people in Sacramento, buying, flipping, doing construction, and selling real estate for others in 2011. And it was in 2012 that I got number 26. So I got kind of a crazy history. And I learned, yo hablo español, man. a little bit anyways. And then I went through this downturn, as you know, like everybody did in 2007. Like literally, my business was chopped by 90%. And went through that rebuild of learning what foreclosures were and short sales and dealing with banks and all the craziness. I hired our first virtual assistant, and her name was Julie. And I started telling some people, friends like you, like that were in the real estate game, and I was telling them, I'm like, yeah, I got this gal, and she's, a third of the cost of all my physical staff. And they're like, can you get me one? And I was like, yeah, but I got to charge you something because it's a pain in the butt. And that's kind of how the business was built. Today we have 1,500 virtual assistants. We'll top $20 million in revenue, which is a nutty number. And it's just because we help real estate people, whether you're an investor, a broker, a mortgage guy, title guys. If you're in the real estate game, we have somebody who can help you, be more effective at what you do.
That's awesome. I've actually I've outsourced a good amount. Obviously we've used some of the popular sites to get logos done and create flyers. So outsourcing, I've had VAs. I've worked with your company, and it's been terrific. What I found with me is because the way I am, I'm pretty scattered. Is when you're going to work with a virtual assistant, you have to be good at setting up the initial kind of framework of what you're looking for. Because if it basically, what I found is the virtual assistants can do everything, and they're disciplined. They can do all these tasks you don't want to do. But the bottom line is you have to set up the template of what you want done so it can be done. And that's the problem with a lot of the real estate investors and agents is they don't have the skill sets to put those kind of, here's your daily to-do list and this is how I want it done. So what I started doing is doing like screencasts and showing my VA exactly what I want done. But I'm wondering, what kind of training how do you vet your VAs? How do you train them? And then, what suggestions do you have to, create these kind of screencasts so you can show exactly what you want, tools and tricks and stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're cutting to the chase. We're getting quick, man. I love it. So there's this thing called play, pause, do, which is kind of our motto. And you nailed it. There's for everybody who's listening and that wants like a tip or a trick, there's two companies that I love. One is called Screencast-O-Matic, and the other one is called Camtasia. And both of those are screen recording systems. I mean, shoot, this Google Hangout is going to get recorded, right? And get uploaded. So you don't have to get crazy, and we can share screens, and you can use Google Hangout and it's free. These are paid programs, but you can just do a Google Hangout, drop it into a YouTube channel, set it to private. So all you have is the link, and then show somebody how to do whatever it is that you need doing. Like, Beau, tell me, like, for your listeners, what's the top 3 lead sources that they typically are working with to generate more business? Like, what's the best ones?
So obviously, what I just recently started doing is Craigslist, looking on Craigslist and like Zillow, like where they have that make me an offer. So I was setting up a platform to teach my VA how to, how to do the searches and how to just pull a basic comp search and so forth. So, basically looking at data on Craigslist, Zillow, finding potential flip opportunities and buy and holds, and then putting them into a Google Doc or Google spreadsheet.
Yeah, well, that's a great example. And then going into MLS and kind of just finding out what the actual value is and getting some details on it, so that when you're ready to look at them, you just have to look at a spreadsheet, a Google Doc, basically, or do Google Sheets, and you're not spending all your time doing the work. I don't know, the details. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah. I was telling you before we went live on this Hangout that I'm going to Indiana to look at properties that, I finally decided that I need cash. Well, I know I need cash flow, but I found that Indiana might be a good option for what I'm looking to do. And so I'm going there for the first time. But one thing I did is I had a VA create a list of all the realtors in that area. And over 600 simple email, and I had her send individual emails and personalize them to all these real estate agents there that ended up coming into town, and I'm looking for deals. And it's unbelievable, the response, right? And it's like I didn't do anything except spend 20 minutes. Now I'm going to go there. I have 5 or 6 property managers to interview, different agents that have deals that have some pocket listings. So I mean, it was just a simple thing to do. So it's just like I would have never done that myself, but now I can outsource that and grow my business. And that's just one little inkling of something you can do to scale, and which is why I really want to focus on creating a system where you can have. I see people, they have like a general manager type VA, and then they have a marketing person, and then and it's just it's fascinating. But my problem is, I think a lot of people is, how do you get started? How do you set up the infrastructure, and how do you really grow? Because it seems like that's the big in as far as real estate agents, that's always been the problem. It's a me business.
Yep.
And I want to take myself out of the equation, and that's what I like about you. You figured out how to do that, and you can help us.
Yeah, dude, I love what you're doing, because here's another. I mean, for everybody that's listening, I'm not an organized guy. Like, I'm just not. And our virtual assistants can throw together a Google Doc or a folder. They can add people to my, my cell phone right here. I meet somebody new. I'm not adding them to my cell phone. I snap a photo of that card and I send it over to my VA. They go into my Google, contacts. They add the person. They tag them. If I want a special note, they put them. If there's a group or whatever. And so your trip to Indiana is a great example. You're going to meet 5 or 6 people. You could have your VA then organize who, this is my number 1 choice. This is my number 2 choice. They're going to add them to your contacts. They're going to create a folder with their name on it, with the property, so that all of your communications can be tracked, all of the documents, details. I mean, another place that most people don't know is like, how about just keeping track of your deal? Like, you buy a flip, right? And I know, because here's one of my newest flips right here, and it's like I'm spending $300,000 on renovations for this thing. Keeping track of that is a full-time job. I mean, it just is. And putting them in QuickBooks and getting the bid and the contract and making sure they have insurance and all that stuff is something that a virtual assistant can do for you, right? So you have the opportunity is just creating that system, and the play, pause, do thing, that's huge, because you can actually, in QuickBooks, you can go in and teach somebody how to add an invoice, how to pay an invoice, how to, you can actually line item your contractors' invoices inside QuickBooks, and then as they're done, check them off, and then have outstanding invoices so you can send it to them and be like, hey, these are the things that are left, blah, blah, blah. So even on flip projects, construction projects, when you're buying property like you are in Indiana, those are all opportunities to have a virtual assistant kind of help you. You just have to figure out the system, and the play, pause, do is huge, because you just, like we are right now, you just pull up MLS, do a share screen, and say, this is how you look up a property. And if you do that enough times, like, your virtual assistant will get it. And most people, like this, there's this convergence of like how much value is. So it starts out how much value it is. It's like here, and then over time it goes up, and then what it costs you in terms of time starts off really high, and over time that goes down. So there's this convergence when it doesn't take you any time and they're super high value. And that's the biggest hurdle when somebody's considering like a virtual assistant. Like, how long is it really going to take me to have super high value, and it's not going to take a ton of my time? Those are the 2 challenges. And then really the question is, like, if you're free to not do the paperwork or the administrative task or all the crap that we just don't like to do, what are you going to do with that time? Are you going to spend more time with your family, your girl? You're going to go to the gym more often? You're going to have a higher quality life? Well, I mean, would that be worth some money for you? I mean, you just have to make the choice, I mean, it's a choose kind of thing. Like, do I want to live a great life, or do I want to have a couple $100 more in my pocket every week? That's the question.
That's really good. Give me an example of like maybe I know the majority of your business right now are probably real estate agents, like
Yeah.
So what do you think the coolest thing that you've seen that an agent really grow their business? Can you kind of give us a good example of something you saw that kind of made you think and said, oh, this is pretty awesome?
You know what? So what's cool about our business, we actually track the different industries. So around 8% of our client base are actually investors like you, like people who flip houses or look for wholesale deals or whatever. And there's this one guy who is just doing these crazy mail campaigns, where he sends out a crap load of like, I'll buy your house kind of things. And he has these, and it's all inbound marketing. So there's a shift going on, because marketing before was like, I'm going to send out a paper or put an article or put a banner ad or something like that. But inbound is where you kind of throw a huge net out there, and then people call you, right? And so this guy has these signs in his properties. He has like 4 different signs, and one of them is like, everyday open houses, call this phone number. And then on top of that, he's doing this flyer out to the neighborhood, and then he's having his virtual assistant call and invite everybody to the pre open house. So there's a 2-week period that he keeps it off the market, that he literally on the sign he puts not on the market yet, call for your showing. And then he's got these other signs, everyday open house, and then he sends out flyers and he invites everybody in the neighborhood. And what I love about that guy is that he has a virtual assistant that runs the entire thing. So like the phone calls that come in, a virtual assistant answers those questions. The agents who are pissed off because it's not on the MLS yet, they call the virtual assistant and the virtual assistant answers all their questions. And so I find that kind of style of marketing to get your house sold and drive traffic in is pretty cool, pretty powerful.
That is. That's kind of everybody's dream. My dream is to take my laptop and to never have to be anywhere. I can just work with this thing. I could be anywhere, anytime. I can almost do that right now, but when I can completely just get off the grid and I know that things are happening and I don't have to worry about something, and that, that's the power of having a virtual assistant. I have a virtual assistant. I have a part-time assistant in person. Mm-hmm. And then I also in a real estate brokerage, so I do have a virtual transaction coordinator as well.
Cool.
So I have, I'm a big picture guy, but I do like, you have to draw it out on whiteboard of how you want your business to be, and I think then you have to lay out. I think we might be frozen.
You're frozen. I can hear you. Okay. But yeah. I'm still here, man. I promise. So let's go. Like, how do you start? Real quick, if you do a T like on a piece of paper, and then you write down on one side dollar productive activities, and then on the other side everything else, and you just the best advice ever given to me is, if you want to outsource it, figure out exactly what it is that you want to get rid of, right? And so everything else is something that's not a dollar productive activity. Like you and I talking right now, this is dollar productive for you because it's going to go out to your entire network. People are going to see you. If they ever thought about, investing and having a virtual assistant, this video is going to pop up. So it's good for you, right? But, putting together a deal package, calling escrow to check on a deal, writing up documents for another loan that you just funded. Like all of that stuff is not dollar productive activity. That's stuff that you could outsource to somebody in the Philippines. And so when you do that T on the piece of paper and you just track it for a week, like just 1 week, just track everything you do, just because you're crazy and you want to know if this is going to be worth it. After that week is over, you can take the piece of paper and pull it out, and you can start bunching them into categories. Like, here's some marketing that I did. Here's some administrative stuff. Here's some financial stuff. Here's some transaction coordination and listing tasks, or here's some loan documents that I gathered up. So now you're kind of grabbing all the different categories, and you're seeing, oh crap, I spend 20% of my time doing paperwork. What if I could spend another, take that 20% and throw it on the dollar productive side? What would that do to my return on investment in terms of what I'm about, what I'm trying to build in my business? And so that's the way you would get started, is just really kind of doing an assessment of what you actually do every single day. And then, rating them about how easy it would be to just show somebody to do, and whether or not, here's another big one. Oh my God, this is important. If you're doing everything on paper, just stop listening right now. If you're the kind of guy that needs a folder, just this isn't gonna work for you, okay? That's just the bottom line, all right? It's just not gonna work. But if you're the kind of guy who, everything's on Google Docs, or Dropbox or Evernote or something like that, like, if you keep your life organized in a way that's electronic and in the cloud, then you can have a virtual assistant help you. And the more systems like that, like QuickBooks Online, Evernote, Google Docs, like, calendars. I mean, I've had my VA schedule, get a restaurant reservation, book tickets for a show, and like just organize a night out for my wife. Like, there's all kinds of opportunities. I was stuck in a conference a couple of years ago in Salt Lake City, and I called my virtual assistant, and I'm like, I hate this place. I need out. I need out. This horrible conference. Find me the first flight out of here. And 2 hours later, she's like, I got you booked out tomorrow morning. You'll be leaving at 7:30. I'm like, oh, thank God. And it was like going to be 4 days of being in Salt Lake City, and that was just not going to work for me. And I thought it was going to be a great conference, but it turned out to be horrible. Like, they touted 5,000 people attending. There was 500. So it was like it was just a bad situation. So for those that are listening and thinking, well, I don't, business wise, I don't have anything that's repeatable. Because that's another big factor of, like, if it's a task that you're doing on a regular basis, and it's something that you're going to do for the rest of your business career, those are awesome tasks to give to a virtual assistant. Your own QuickBooks, transaction coordination, administrative stuff, scheduling appointments. That inbound guy, when the phone rang, a virtual assistant answered, went through a checklist. I'm sure you use a checklist of some sort, right? When somebody calls and it's a potential deal, you're asking them the same questions and you're filling out a thing so you remember. And a virtual assistant can do all that, so that once it's done, you're just scanning through and you're saying, okay, that deal looks like a deal. These other three, those aren't deals. I'm going to focus my time and energy and effort on that one deal, And so a repeatable system is important. The play, pause, do is important. Understanding there's going to be a little bit of a convergence in terms of value is going to be over time. It's going to go up, and your time invested is going to go down. So there's going to be a sweet spot. By the way, that's usually about 30 to 60 days, just so people on the call have a good. The other thing is, if you're going to utilize them to generate leads and help you in that space, you gotta coach them, man. This is one of the big screw ups that people hire a virtual assistant and say, oh, I'm going to put them on the phone and they're going to prospect for me and they're going to take all my calls and I'm going to get a ton of deals because now I'm free to do other stuff. That's true, but just like the play, pause, do for all of your administrative or marketing tasks, for the prospecting stuff or the phone work, you got to record their calls. You got to have a phone system that's a VoIP phone system that they can access online. You got to actually give them a little coaching. Like, that's the other piece that's really important. Like, right? Think of yourself when you first started in real estate. You needed a mentor or a coach. That's going to be you if you hire a virtual assistant. So if you're not into playing that game, don't do the outsourcing thing. Definitely don't call my outdesk if you don't want to play that game, because it's going to require some coaching.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why people fail when they get a virtual assistant every time. I mean, that's what we had a kind of talk before we went live. It's listen, but the thing is, if you want to grow your business and not be like a one-man shop, you have to learn to set up these systems, because that's what I've been fighting with. And
yep.
And that's the only way you're going to scale, and the only way you're going to take yourself out of the business, the only way you're ever going to make the money you want to make and live the life you want to live. So right. you have to, and there's people like, I have a gentleman that helps me with my internet marketing systems together. So I pay him and he does a phenomenal job where I hate it. So there's ways to get around this. You just have to have the brain power to sketch it out. And then if you're not even good at doing certain things, you got to outsource. Maybe it's a local outsource person that helps you create a system that you can then, deliver to your VA in the Philippines.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're never going to grow unless you're able to create systems. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Or, and there's, I bring up quality of life too. I mean, I went on my honeymoon, and, during the day we were like, and really the impetus for growing my outdesk huge was I'm on my honeymoon. It's 2009. My business is just blowing up. I got into the foreclosure, REO, flip, hold, construction kind of game. And we're on our honeymoon and my wife is sleeping and I'm at the bar working. because I had to be, I hadn't created those systems yet. And so there's a quality of life piece here that people don't really understand. And really, if you're scaling up and building a big business, I think what you've got going on is really smart. It's not like you can't outsource everything in your world. Like, it's just not possible. You have to have the beautiful mix is a blend, like where you have some physical employees and some virtual employees, and they augment each other. And your physical employees, just like you, are doing higher dollar productive activity, and they're offloading, they're 80/20, right? The 80% of their work is given to a virtual assistant, and they're focused now 80% of their time on dollar productive activities. Like, that's really what we're talking about. And people need, this is a hard message for most people. Like, I'm doing this because it's hard. If you're seeing me go back and forth, it's a challenge to really consider, because real estate has those peaks and valleys, right? And so if you're an investor on this call and you're doing 5 to 6 deals a year where you're flipping them or wholesaling them, that's probably our minimum. You want to get to a little bit more transactions per year. And I don't know, we have a part-time person, so you can do 20 hours a week, and that might be good for somebody doing 5 to 6 deals a year. But definitely a full-time person, you probably want to do more. Maybe you can help me with that on the investor side. You live in that space a lot more than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think, probably for most, a part-time, if you're just an investor right now, and you, like, for me, I have a real estate brokerage and I'm an investor, and
Yep.
I do hard money loans, so I have a lot of tasks that we can, outsource, posting on Craigslist, creating flyers, sending emails. I mean, they're just nonstop, because the more I market, I make money. When somebody comes in my funnel, it's like I can sell them a house, I can partner with them on a flip, I can do their loan for them. I mean, it's like I can make money in many ways, which is kind of I like. So that's why I always encourage investors. Hey, like my friend is quitting her job, and I'm like, get your real estate license. So when you're not doing a flip, if somebody wants to buy a house, you can go make $15,000-$16,000 on a deal. Like, it's like multiple streams of income, and that's kind of my thoughts. So, the basic investor, yeah, you hire a VA 20 hours a week, that should be good. But if you're doing high volume, and we have some friends in our mastermind groups that are like huge hitters, they're doing, like, 6-7 deals a month.
Wow.
And so, I mean, there's guys in our, Go Abundance group that we know that are just
right.
But those guys, they all need VAs. They all need to set up these systems. But so let's just say, part-time seems realistic for me. I go on your website. I set up is it like a consultation, and then can you walk me through the vetting process of how I go from not having a VA to getting a VA with your company?
Sure. So the important thing to know is that we're very specialized in real estate, like literally just for investors, flippers, wholesalers. We have 150 virtual assistants that's what they do. So when you call us, you're getting a company that has expertise in that space. I'm a real estate broker. I'm a flipper. The funniest thing, I did my first wholesale deal on accident. Like, I wanted to flip a property, and the guy calls me, and it was a for sale by owner, and I was going to flip it, and I had an investor, and it was this deal, and he calls me up and says, "Hey, I've changed my mind. I don't want to sell it anymore." And I said, "Oh crap. Well, what about all the money I invested in I had plans, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Well, could I give you $10,000 to walk away?" And I said, "I don't know. Let me think about it." And inside, my heart was racing. I'm like, ding, 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 ding. Yes. But anyways, I love stories, man. I could go on and on. But the important thing to know is we do real estate. So that's the space that we're in. When we vet a virtual assistant, we're doing a two-week audition for them. So they go through a training class where they get the basics, like they see MLS, they see a transaction coordination system, they understand like what title is, a mortgage is. They're getting like that initial basic training, right? And really it's like a boot camp. It's an addition. Most people don't pass. I mean, that's unfortunate, but it's just the truth. It's just a really, I've had one of the newbies, you know, chatting with me maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We're at a bar and we're just hanging out. And he's like, boss, your training program was the hardest thing I ever went through. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Because we want quitters to quit and we want winners to stay and get a client like you. And like, so we're doing all that FBI grade background check. We're calling their references. We're verifying the college that they went to. In the Philippines, the way they have to have like a piece of paper from their previous employer saying that they parted on good terms. And all of those things we verify all the way back to their college days. So we're really vetting the crap out of these people so that they're good people, right? And then we put them through the 2-week course. And here's the kicker. You guys, as potential clients of ours, get the opportunity to interview them. So we will put them in front of you with a Google Hangout or a Skype thing or whatever, and you'll actually get the opportunity to interview these people and verify that they're going to be a fit for you. Like that. And people are like, well, how do I know that somebody's going to be a fit? That's what our consultation's for. You kind of mentioned it before. We'll help you with interview questions. We'll talk about what your job description looks like. We'll make sure that what you're thinking can be done really can be done. You know, like, you know, I want my virtual assistant to open all my mail. Well, that's not going to work. They're in the Philippines, you're in the US, you know. So we'll and that consultation, all you're risking is time. Just like this video, right? You spent 20, 30 minutes listening to me and Beau. We're, blah, 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 you know, you're going to get an opportunity to meet with somebody who's an expert in helping people outsource their business. And your only risk is time. So go to our website, request a free consultation. Somebody will give you a call. You'll actually get to experience what it's like to talk to a virtual assistant. That's another good one. One of our big objections that we hear is like, can they actually speak English? Like, do they know what they're doing? Like, can I have a conversation? Can they shoot me an email? Will I understand it? The country that we're in, the Philippines, is the #1 outsourced for voice and communication. So every major company in the world is in the Philippines outsourcing their customer service, their phone support, technical support, all that. You know, you call Comcast, you're never going to talk to a US person unless you go through a couple places. It's because they're all over there in the Philippines. So, and in our vetting process, you know, we require that they write some blogs, they do projects. So we're screening out the people that can't communicate perfectly in English. And the other piece of that is like, you have to make a decision. Like, do I need them to be detail oriented and pay attention to the process in detail, or do I care how they communicate with my clients? And so those are two different people typically. What I call the data nerd or the project nerd may not have the perfect English skills that somebody who's used to being on the phones is going to have, but you're hiring them because you want them to keep track of stuff and be organized, and that's what they're great at. So those are the two kind of different products, I guess, that we offer people, are the phone, and they're really great communicators, and then the project management, transaction coordination, administrative stuff, marketing stuff, and those are the two kind of things.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now I'm kind of curious too, is since you're also a real estate investor, I'm curious on what kind of projects you're doing lately. Are you doing commercial?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I brought this over here. This is my latest little gig, and I built this pop-up because it was fun. I took a building downtown on 19th and S, and we bought it for $370,000. Had asbestos. It was just a kind of a crappy 5 parking spaces. But the good news is it was right next to a hospital. It was right next to a natural food co-op, and it's right next to a light rail station. So it's like the perfect little downtown investment thing. And so I went to an architect. We abated all the asbestos. We drew up new plans. We threw them through the city, and I sold that. I sold that particular deal for $130,000 more than I bought it a year later. So I've been flipping. You know, it's so funny because I started out in residential real estate, doing a lot of flips and buys and holds. And what I would do is I'd flip two and then buy one to hold, and I'd flip two and then I'd buy one to hold, and that was kind of our pattern. And then it just became too hard to do that because the prices just kept skyrocketing, and like it didn't make sense to hold anymore. So then we moved into small apartments, and then from small apartments now we've moved into commercial, because it's just easier to find deals, man. That's what's crazy. I mean, and there's some challenges around. You know, the residential market is just hot right now, and the apartment. I mean, there's some cap rates are in the low, below fours. I don't know about you guys. You're in the Bay Area, so I bet you that it's even worse, right?
Yeah, yeah. So are you just buying in the Sacramento area? Are you out of state anywhere? Or?
No, I've always wanted to be cool like you and buy in Indiana or some other Georgia or something. I just there's something about like being able to drive to it for me. And we have a couple properties down in Southern California that were just like screaming deals and like couldn't pass them up kind of things. But the majority of my stuff is like a 20-minute drive from my office. So, I mean, and that's the reason that it's getting harder and harder because, it's California. So, I don't know, maybe one day, or maybe, there's this guy, I really like talking to him. He's this old dude, right? And so back in the foreclosure world, I'm talking to him and he meets me at in Oak Park, not Snoop Dogg, but what's the other one? The guy that got killed, the poet, rapper guy, not Tupac. Tupac. Yeah. So Tupac sang about Oak Park, which is in Sacramento, in one of his songs. And Oak Park is like, and it's the most violent area of Sacramento. It also happens to be the best real estate investment neighborhood in Sacramento, like because the prices are low, rents are stable, people move in and stay for a long time frame. So I met this guy in Oak Park, like I'm in my head, I'm hearing Tupac say Oak Park. Anyways, and I'm like, so tell me your story, man. And he's like this old guy and he could barely move, right? And he's like, well, I own a couple houses and I haven't been able to buy in like 10 years. And I'm like, why'd you stop buying? He goes, well, back in 1993, the prices got too hot. And so then I had to wait until 99, 2000, and I bought some then, but I haven't been able to buy anything. And this is back in 07 or 08. It was like 07, I think. And so I'm showing him his house that's a 1-bedroom that's for sale for $19,000. And I'm like, well, how many houses do you own? He goes, 400. And he shows up in a little Toyota truck. A little Toyota truck, an old man that can barely walk. He's got 400 homes. He doesn't have a mortgage on a single home. And he hadn't bought since like 99 because the prices got too high. He's like, I couldn't justify the prices. And so, our markets go up and down. And, this guy, he was just patient. He was a smart investor. He was patient. He bought when he could buy, and he never sold. And he always paid off his mortgages. And it's just, I don't know. That's some advice for the folks that haven't been through it,
No, I actually love that because it's so true. It's like, I feel like people, especially like the flippers, they need to do deals. It's like a drug for them. It's like, but listen, if the deal's not right, don't do it. Don't try to make something happen. But obviously, I think the real market is you got to do flips to make money. I understand that, but
yep.
I mean, if you're able to buy, fix, and hold, and create some equity in these properties, I mean, if you can do that, your tax consequences are way better. You can 1031 exchange. There's so, you want to hold these properties. Bottom line. So that's kind of my focus now. Is like, hey, I made some money. Now let's let's buy properties I can hold and collect checks, month after month. And that's the only way you're going to really get financially free.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey guys, I don't know how much time we have, but the myoutdesk.com is the website. I want to give everybody my email if you want to just chat or you had questions. Is Daniel@myoutdesk. So if you're on the call and you're like, I want to talk to the guy, I'm totally open to doing that. I actually enjoy like interactions and talking to people. It's fun. And what I would say, it's really important if you're building a business and you want to live a life that's just like full, just get some leverage, man. Just get some leverage and start really focusing on dollar productive stuff. Like that's a big deal. Everybody kind of does a lot. Is really busy and does a lot of things, but what are the things that really matter? You'll like this, but there's this guy. He does these lists, right? Everybody has a to-do list, right? And it's Darren Hardy, Success Magazine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He has to succeed. So he has the regular to-do list, and then he has the to succeed list. And often, and I did this experiment a couple of years ago because I was listening to some of the stuff, and I realized my to-do list is always like 10, 15 things. My succeed list is like 3. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to do those 3 things and screw those other 15. Who cares? And I don't know. Anyways, good.
Well, I won't keep you any longer, but I do want to thank you very much. And I'm sure we can maybe get you, in a few months to do a follow-up call.
Sure.
Where we kind of break down maybe a kind of a whiteboard process of, reverse engineering your business. I think you're really good at that. So that'd be kind of cool to kind of break down how you could structure a business. And also I was going to ask, July, what date is it? July 7th. I did one last year. It's called REI Bar Camp, and it's an unconference. We'd love to have you come. It's going to be somewhere in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it's like mini mastermind sessions. We usually have 2 or 3 going at once, but would love to have you lead the track on outsourcing.
Yeah.
And
July 7th.
July 7th, yes.
All right, sweet. I'm in.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and I'll see you the 28th of this coming month for some basketball.
Yeah. All right, man. Talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.